According to an Economist article published on August 17, 2013, the United States only accounts for 5% of the world's population, but represents 25% of the world's prisoners. This statistic is insane. So much so that I'm sure many of you right now are wondering, why is it that America has one of the highest imprisonment rates in the world? The answer to the question is quite simple. Mandatory minimum sentences. These mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenders result in overcrowded prisons, causing these institutions to do the very thing they are meant to avoid doing. That is, they make society unsafe. Why is this topic important? It's important because we are all currently living in the United States, and until these mandatory minimum sentences are properly fixed, we will see crime rates continue to rise as inmates leave correctional facilities without feeling remorseful of the crimes they have committed. So today we're going to discuss the problems of overcrowding in prisons, the causes of overcrowding in public prisons, and what can be done to resolve these issues. The first problem of prison overcrowding is that prison overcrowding results in the early release of prisoners. These early release prisoners go into society and cause more crimes. The most well and recent documented case of early released inmates as a result of prison overcrowding to date came in 2009 as a result of Brown v. Plata. The Supreme Court ruled in 2009 that the state of California must shrink their prison occupancy from 2,002% to 137.5%. As a result, 10,000 inmates were required to be released in that year, and so far, 23,000 inmates were released as of last year. In comparison to the national average, murder rates in California have increased 10.5%, and auto theft rates have increased 15%. The second problem of prison overcrowding in the United States is that prison overcrowding results in the expansion of sexually transmitted diseases. According to an NBC article published in 2010, experts say that these individuals carrying these diseases will be a crushing burden on our national healthcare system, killing as many people as AIDS in the years to come. These diseases go undetected as a result of the poor medical conditions as a result of prison overcrowding. The third downside of prison overcrowding is that it is extremely expensive. Every single year, the United States houses about 2.2 million inmates at a cost of $80 billion, or $35,000 per inmate. Additionally, the average age of inmates in confinement in the U.S. is 40 years old, with the fastest growing segment in the age group of 18 to 35. Since the majority of these criminals are so young and impressionable, studies show that approximately 2/3 are likely to be arrested within 3 years of release. Now that we've seen some of the problems that result from prison overcrowding, let's find the cause. The cause of prison overcrowding is a result of the passing of the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. This act was in direct response to the crack cocaine epidemic in the United States. The United States Supreme Court ruled that the passing of the act was necessary because of several reasons. The reasons are as follows. The Supreme Court found that crack was highly addictive, that crack users and dealers were more likely to be violent than users and dealers of other drugs, that crack was more harmful to users than powder, that crack was especially prevalent among teenagers, and that crack's potency and low cost were making it increasingly popular. As a result of the Drug Abuse Act of 1986, there are harsh penalties today for drug offenders in the United States. It is evident to see, as the largest demographic of prisoners in the United States, according to the United States Department of Justice, are those serving sentences for drug-related offenses. Unfortunately for the majority of these offenders, they are serving sentences for unjust crimes. The majority of these offenders are simply suffering from drug addiction and need medical assistance to overcome their dependency of controlled substances. So what can be done to solve this? In 2007, Texas encountered the problem of prison overcrowding, and instead of building more prisons, which does nothing to solve the problem, Texas Senate Republican Jerry Madden took an unorthodox approach to solve the issue of overcrowding in Texas. With Jerry Madden leading the charge of Texas Corrections Committee, in 2007, the Texas legislature allocated $241 million for drug treatment alternative rehabilitation centers instead of constructing more prisons. Between 2007 and 2011, violent crime in Texas fell by 14.2%. These reforms have helped reduce the number of new crimes by those on parole by 11.9% and cut the overall crime rate in Texas to its lowest point since 1968. And at the same time, the state has avoided spending nearly $2 billion in projected prison costs now and into the future. When asked why did Jerry Madden decide to build more prisons, he said, "Prison is not a place to get substance abuse treatment. It's not a good place to get mental health treatment, and it's not a good place to get good employment and skill development. Not to mention, all the research suggests that locking people up is going to increase criminality upon release, with the higher recidivism rates seen in California." Every single year, the United States spends roughly $80 billion on correctional facilities. As we've seen, these facilities are not proven to be effective, but instead, with the leadership of Jerry Madden and the Texas legislature, rehab centers in Texas have proven to be cheaper and more effective. With the implementation of these cheaper and more effective rehabilitation centers, more money can be allocated to corrections and can be used elsewhere, in such as the fields of education, healthcare, and defense. Thank you.